Quiet on set. Picture is up. All right, roll sound.
Rolling.
Roll cameras.
Cam's rolling.
And 3, 2.
Hey everybody, what's going on? And welcome to Hank's Think Tank. It's been a while since I've had Judge Mark Keough in, but guess what? He's back, and we're going to talk about a lot of stuff Montgomery County today. I think this is going to be a really interesting conversation, and you guys are going to pick up a lot of good information. So good morning, Judge. How's it going?
Hank, thanks for having me, man. I'm very excited about being here.
Yeah, so this is your first visit to the new location. What do you think?
It's fantastic. My goodness.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It is amazing. You've done very well.
Yeah, we were stuck in that little building before, and it worked, but it didn't work for everything I needed.
This is the deal here. Good job. Great job.
So it's a great job. So I wanted to start out with the definition of what a county judge does. Now, you don't see cases like a regular appellate court or a regular court judge. So what is it? What are the duties of a county judge? What do you do?
First of all, in terms of what a county judge is by statute, in the state of Texas, if the county is under 225,000 people, then the county judge is the chief budget officer. He pretty much has rule over so many areas, and he actually listens to judicial cases. If you're over 220,000, you have the opportunity to be exempt because instead of doing so much judicial and budgetary stuff, we've got a budget officer. We have a full line of county judges. When I said county court at law judges, our justice of the peace, and our district judges. So my job in our size county of 750,000 people is to be primarily administrative. I'm the chief presiding officer over the commissioner's court. That's the first thing. Second thing that I do is that I am over Homeland Security and emergency management. And with that, I take that and delegate that to my chief of staff, Jason Millsaps, who, by the way, does an awesome job.
Absolutely. Jason's a good guy.
Yeah, it's incredible. Incredible.
Yeah.
I call him my boy genius.
There you go.
And
I can understand why.
But he does a great job for us. And then I'm also the chairman of the health district. I'm on Houston Galveston area transportation policy, metropolitan policy organization, and a lot of that kind of stuff. So my job is primarily administrative. Some people even refer to it, in some places they call it a county administrator, not in Texas, but in other states. But that's really what I do. I administrate the overall county.
Okay. So you manage the business of the county, basically.
Yes, in conjunction with the 4 commissioners that are one over each area of the county.
Okay.
In Texas, every county is divided into 4 sections. It's real easy: north, south, east, and west. Precinct 1, Precinct 2, Precinct 3, and Precinct 4.
Okay.
They have an individual who oversees primarily roads and bridges, transportation, plus other elements as well. Broad sphere of authority over their particular section. There's 4 of them, and I am, in that court, the chief presiding officer over that. I run the court. I'm the one that gavels in. I'm the one that breaks for executive session. I'm the one that where we have public hearings, that sort of thing.
Now, do you vote in that court?
Yes, we do. Yes,
so are you allowed to vote?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so you can break a tie then.
I can not just break a tie, I can actually vote. I can even make a motion for something, or I can second a motion. I frequently do. So I'm a voting member of that court. A quorum is 3. You got to have 3 people to agree, and the other 2 is not enough to win. So you got to have at least 2 other people besides yourself to move forward on any type of action.
Fantastic. So you mentioned there were 700,000. Is that 700,000 people or registered voters?
That's 750, according to the U.S. Census estimate now. Because remember, in 2020, we were at 600. Right now, they estimate that we're at 650,000, and our voting group is just shy of 450,000 people that actually have opportunity to vote. Okay,
wow.
So
So do things change when we hit 1 million, or does it stay the same?
Yeah, well, it pretty much stays the same, except that the biggest thing with growth is you're constantly adding things to accommodate the growth.
Yeah.
Whether you got to add more courts.
It's been painful for Montgomery County.
It can be. It's going to continue to be as long as we're growing the way we're growing. But I think we're doing a good job managing it.
Yeah, I think so too. So I find myself in Commissioner's Court quite often just to observe and to learn.
Sure.
And it's been a great experience for me. I I didn't know all the things that you guys cover in Commissioner's Court.
Oh, yeah.
So guys, here's the thing. You don't have to go. It's live streamed, and I'm going to leave a link in the description of this video to let you know where you can go to watch it. It's actually worth your time. If you're a registered voter, it's really worth your time. If you're not, it'll help you get there and become a registered voter. So it's a good thing.
I encourage people who have come from other states to tune into that.
Sure.
They want to know, how do we operate in the county? And other people from other states are seeing how we're operating and moving here because of it.
Yeah.
It's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, we're facing some explosive growth. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So what do you think are the major pains that we've had from just the amount of growth, other than just basic infrastructure?
Well, transportation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I look back. I was telling my wife the other day, we were sitting at the corner of 1488 and I-45.
Mm-hmm.
And man, I mean, it was packed at 5 o'clock.
I bet.
It was so painful.
Yeah.
We were kind of complaining. And I said, but Kim, remember back during COVID? There was no one here. Thank God for people being here and for us being able to operate. But transportation is a big issue.
Yeah.
And then working with, we're developing, we work with our developers and those people who come into the area to make them stakeholders in what is necessary to make this county successful.
Sure.
In other words, we just don't want people just coming arbitrarily, just throwing up stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There has to be ways. There has to be ingress and egress. We've got to be able to get in and out. And another issue is the widening of traffic.
Mm-hmm.
The widening of the roadways is essential. Expansion.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a school of thought, if you can believe that the more expansion you do, the more crowded it becomes. And I'm thinking, what alternative universe are they living in? Because I hear that periodically in other counties.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact of the matter is that if you're going to move people, then you have to have expansion of roads. Hank, think about this. 60% to 70% of the people that are moving into Montgomery County are moving into single occupancy homes. That means they drive.
Wow.
They have at least 2 single occupancy vehicles.
Right. Nuclear family. Yeah.
What are you going to do with those? The only thing you can do is you have to expand, or you force everybody to go to some type of mass transit, and that's not in the future for Montgomery County.
Right.
We believe in giving people choices. If they want to do that, they can, but we're not going to make anybody do anything like that, like some of our sister counties have really pushed in that direction.
So when was the last time that a major road plan like this was looked at?
Well, we did when I first came on board, one of my contract with Montgomery County was to develop a thoroughfare plan. Mm-hmm. We've gone through each of the precincts and have done the studies on those. And right now, the commissioners are getting together and they are determining what roads that they want to put on an upcoming road bond. Mm-hmm. That's going to be coming up and that we're going to vote on in May.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
But so yes, the studies have been there. We're doing it. We're looking at it all the time. It's an ongoing conversation.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. So what's the annual budget for Montgomery County?
About $440 million.
$440 million.
Yeah.
It sounds like a lot. But when you start spending and you start doing things that need to be done, I bet it gets stretched pretty thin.
Well, here's the deal. We everybody's concerned about taxes.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, on this upcoming bond, I started the meeting on the bond by saying, first of all, if we're going to do a road bond, we're not going to raise the tax rate.
Okay.
So how much of a road bond can we have without raising the tax rate? Well, we sat there and worked it out with our budget officer, our auditor. We can do a $480 million road bond with a 0% tax rate increase. That's remarkable.
Wow, that is remarkable.
Yeah, because that's the extent of our growth. So we can divide $120 million into give each of that to each of the commissioners and let them decide the roads they want to do, and we're in the process of doing that right now.
Okay.
So that is not so much a stress on the budget. Mm-hmm. The things that become stress on the budget is when we're adding people, when we have to add people. Mm-hmm. If we did decide to do, say, a courthouse or a jail, and we did it right now, well, then it would increase the cost and would raise the budget. But that's not what our plan is. We're managing what we have right now, even though sometimes some facilities are a little older than others, but we're managing to do it, and it's going very well.
Sure, I get it. So let me ask you about the precincts. So you said it's divided by north, south, east, west.
Yes.
There's 4 separate precincts. Are those the sizes, are they based on population or are they based on
It's based on
geographical size?
population.
Based on population?
Yeah.
Wow. So I
you
guess
see the concentration of people is in South County.
Mhm.
See? And geography has something to do with it in terms of just where people are going. The biggest thing that we need that we have not done, and that if we could do it and figure out a way to do it, is to increase our thoroughfare activity across the entire county. We only have a few roads that do that right now, whereas
Right.
most of the commissioners are very precinct centric in terms of what they want to do with their roads.
Sure.
And so that's why you'll come up to a road that ends at that precinct. When really what you need to have is you need to have a road that runs between East County all the way to the end of West County into Waller.
Absolutely.
So you get people across, So there's some resistance to that, but
Yeah.
it'll eventually come.
I can see that. Okay, so one of the things that's on everybody's mind always, at least from what I hear, is drainage.
Yeah.
And how do you guys look at drainage? I mean, is it looked at from a precinct by precinct perspective, or is there a county-wide plan that overlays across that?
Here's the deal. There is. We look at it countywide, but this is really what the commissioners do, and we are in the process of developing for each of the commissioners is always working on something to do with drainage. Commissioner Gray has really taken the bull by the horns, and he's working on that very strongly over here because the fact of the matter is that this is an area that floods is more prone to it
Right.
than other areas.
Yeah, it's kind of negative from flat.
Well,
So, yeah.
what's interesting is our friends to the south in Harris County, every time they get flooded down there in Kingwood or the rest, they always refer to it as that Montgomery County
Oh, yeah.
water.
Yeah.
But Hank, the fact of the matter is that water's been flowing down there for 30,000 years.
Sure.
And when I look at the plats of the city of Houston, guess what? Their engineers signed off on where everybody's built. They
Yeah.
already knew where the water was coming. And what people don't realize is most of the areas that flood are areas that have always flooded. The new stuff that's
Right.
being built is not flooding,
Right.
by and large.
Yeah, because they're building it up.
That's right.
Yeah, that makes
Building
sense.
it up or just being more thoughtful in terms of detention and peak flow type on the river and whatnot.
Okay. So is there a regional coalition that takes a look at drainage and flooding from a regional perspective?
Well, there's
that you
not,
guys
except
are-
for the
are
state.
part
There's not. Harris County has tried to get us to do that, and one of the things that they've done is they've tried to get us to put in a flood district. In other words, create a whole new level of bureaucracy.
Right.
When the fact of the matter is, that's not our issue. It's Harris County's issue. And to create another taxing entity for the people, as long as I'm doing this, I could never support something like that.
Yeah.
And, but we want to be good neighbors. I've had this conversation with Commissioner Ramsey in Harris County, just because he's got Creekside in his area, which is a part of the Woodlands.
Right.
And if there's something that we can do together, being good neighbors, that makes sense, that will benefit both of us, and we would have to look hard at the cost because it's really not our issue.
Right.
But we
and
would
it's
do
really
what we need
expensive to
do.
solve.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
astronomical.
Yeah.
It's astronomical. It takes years and years.
Right. Yeah.
So-
and it doesn't always work either because everything changes
That's
around
right.
it. Yeah. Okay. Moving forward, I want to talk about animals. I have an affinity for animals. Part of your purview is to run the animal control shelter.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that a little bit. How
Yeah.
does that operate? How much does it cost if I wanted to bring a cat or a dog in, and what kind of services are provided by the
Well, here's the
Montgomery
deal.
County Animal Shelter?
The shelter is it's almost like a ministry to animals, man. I'm telling you, it's unbelievable.
That's a good way to look at it. I've
Well,
never thought about it
well,
like
because
that.
here's what people don't realize: the animal shelter is just not a place where we put dogs in kennels or cats in kennels. We have a full triage center. We've got veterinarians that work there. We do spay and neuters, and have times just people need to be paying attention when we'll do free spay and neuter for people.
Okay.
And
Wow, that's a good deal.
It works
because it's expensive.
we may do 200 spay and neuters on a weekend, man. It's unbelievable.
Wow.
And then the shots and that sort of thing. And but every animal that comes in, if it's not spayed or neutered, is spayed, neutered, get all its age-appropriate vaccinations, and it gets chipped. So we put a chip in it so we
Okay.
know that it came from this shelter. And then when somebody comes in to adopt the pet, then they go to their computer or we can do it for them, and we will move that chip over to them
Okay.
with their name, their phone number, that sort of thing. It's really a very efficient program.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
It really is. And but we are, like every shelter, overcrowded, but we're doing a pretty good job managing it. In other words, how do you determine what's a good job managing this?
Yeah, that's tough.
Outgo compared to income. It's called, when I used to be in the car business years ago, on inventory, we called it rate of travel.
Sure.
How many cars are going out for the amount that are coming in? And it's the same way with animals. And so we have to manage that. And we take calls every day. We've got animal control officers in the street every day that are picking up stray animals and cats and whatnot.
Yeah.
And we do take in some other animals, but it's pretty much just dogs and cats.
Wow.
We've got some birds down there right now.
Do you really?
Yeah. I mean, they're very cool, exotic birds, little small little things.
Wow.
But we're holding them. We had to go and pick those up. There was a lady who was very sick. And so we picked them up and brought them in, and hopefully we'll be able to get through that here pretty quickly.
Now, I know that the animal shelter is an older facility.
Yeah.
So are there plans to expand or?
We've looked hard at it, and when we really look at what it would take for our size county, it gives people a little bit of heartburn.
Oh, I bet.
Because the fact of the matter is you're building almost like a hospital. You're building a place not just
Right.
to store animals, but best practices determines that they ought to be able to come and go out of their kennel. They've got to have exercise. And we have to accommodate people in order to be able to manage this size. And so you're looking at the last figure we got was $65 million to build
Good
an animal
Lord,
shelter.
really?
Oh, yeah.
$65
Astronomical.
million. Wow.
But here's what people don't realize. In Montgomery County, there's just a couple of animal shelters. By statute, cities are supposed to have their own animal shelter. Okay, but what we've opted to do is have really one county-wide animal shelter that we go out and work all of these various cities. Like Magnolia doesn't have an animal shelter. The Woodlands, 120,000 people, does not have an animal shelter. It's a township, so they're not required to. But any city by statute really is required to have one. But over the period of years, we've just decided this works best. So what would the cost of individual animal shelters for all the cities be? What would it cost? It'd be $15 million probably for each city.
Sure. Yeah.
So by the time
That'd
you
be a
take
lot.
that and you look at the various cities, $65 million for doing everybody is not that much money. Convincing the public of that's another issue.
Yeah.
But and I was pushing for it pretty hard, and then we had a little bit of turnover in upper management over there. And so I determined before we go about building a new facility, what I want to do is take our new person and let's see what they can do with what we have.
You get the right manager and they
That's
can
right.
make remarkable changes.
Yeah. And you when you have people who are, when you have a group of employees that are really happy, feel like they're being heard and treated right, and all of a sudden animals go out faster.
Sure.
So
That
you have
makes
a little
sense.
bit of that going on.
Yeah.
But the animal shelter it's a great love that I've never intended to do.
And it's really a good place to adopt a pet.
It is.
And I think a lot of people miss that. They see it as a place to put a pet,
That's right.
but not adopt a pet.
That's right.
And so we need to get people to start looking at when they want to add to their family to go down to the Montgomery County Animal Shelter.
That's
and
one of
take a
the
look
things
down
I
there.
push in my videos. When I do animal,
Yeah, I've seen
my
your animal videos.
I
They
say,
make
come
me
on down here
jealous
in
every
Montgomery
time.
County. They got all their age-appropriate vaccinations.
Yeah.
Da. And but right now in the month of February, a person could go down there and adopt a pet for $14.
Man, that's cheap.
Let me tell you, when you spay,
That doesn't even cost cover the cost.
Oh,
Yeah.
when you just spay, neuter, and all their age-appropriate vaccines, you're talking hundreds of dollars if you did it on your own.
Sure.
They can come down here and have that all done for you. Puppies.
Chipped. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
We have a slew of puppies, and that come in. Moms will have them, or we'll bring them all. They'll bring them all in, and we got all different kinds: big ones, small ones, half-size ones, tiny ones, brown, black, white,
Yeah.
spotted. Whatever you want, we have it. It's amazing, really.
Okay. Great.
So we invite everybody to come down to the Montgomery County Animal Shelter.
Fantastic. I'm going to put a link in the description to that too, because
Well,
it's
that'd
got
be
a
great.
website, and then that way
Yeah.
everybody can go and check it out.
Yeah,
So,
that'd be great.
All right, running for re-election. How many terms have you done already?
Well, you know, it's in total. When I first got into the political realm, I ran for, and I won my 2015 election and 17 election for the House of Representatives.
Mm-hmm.
Then in 18, I won the election for starting in 2019.
Okay.
And I completed 4 years of that, and I just completed my second year of my second term as county judge. So I'm going to complete this one, and as soon as opportunity arises, I'm going to announce again I'm running for another 4 years.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we need good people in office.
Well, thank you.
In
I
every kind
appreciate
of
that.
office.
Yes,
so.
absolutely.
And I know that you've worked very hard and done a great job so far.
The commissioners are awesome. They're really we have disagreements, but don't reasonable people have disagreements?
Absolutely.
So we can reason with each other.
Yeah.
We can talk about it, and pretty much get to where we need to be. And I have to tell you, it's been the greatest honor of my life to serve Montgomery County in this way. It really has.
Yeah.
I retired, Hank, in 2013. You know, having been in the automobile business for 26 and a half years.
And you've worked harder ever since. Yeah.
But it's been a great opportunity for me.
Yeah, I'm actually afraid to retire because I know I'm going to actually work harder than I do now.
I tell that to people, man. Let me tell you, if you want to stay productive, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's it. So anything else that the county manages or any news that you can think of that you'd like to bring to the forefront that maybe everybody doesn't know about?
Right now we're in the legislative session.
Okay.
And we're looking at things that impact us there, you know, whether it's our educational standards or whatever. Some of our investment standards by county that are being looked at by the state and how we invest our money and that sort of thing. I think one of the biggest issues right now has to do with our library system, our public library. You know, we really have about 7 locations for library, and we've had some recent turnover in our upper management, and so we're in the process of putting that together. But the library it's a labor of love for people who care about their kids, about their families, there's tons of people that want to use the library, but they don't want to go there because of inappropriate material or whatnot. And especially if they're homeschoolers or that sort of thing. So
it wasn't like that when I was a kid. So what happened?
Same here.
You know, I used to live in the Heights,
Yeah.
and there was a library on 14th, I believe, in Heights Boulevard. Real old building built in the 1900s. Beautiful place, hardwood floors. You couldn't find anything like that in that library if you searched it down day and night. And it was a real quiet place. It was always a place that you could go and learn and study, and it was amazing. So what happened between...
Well, I think that the library system has gotten hijacked by progressive mindset that has been working in our country for the last 20 years and moving us down the wrong path. And I think that's clearly illustrated by what Donald Trump is doing right now. Regardless of how you feel about Trump, he's implementing change, and he's taking us back to our roots of what made America truly great. And we've abandoned those with a globalist mindset. In doing that, we've worked at changing our education system, whether it has to do with colleges, high schools, or whatever. And once you change that, and all of a sudden the standards for the community change. And so one of the things...
and morality just goes down the tube.
That's exactly right, you know.
I get it.
My goal is people need the freedom to choose what they want to do and how they want to live and how they want to raise their kids. But it has to be in the context of what is virtuous for the community. What is good for the people? And we have to, and in that, we have lost that because of our moving away from I believe, a Judeo-Christian ethic that has been the foundation of from the Puritans on up through our country and in our founding fathers, in our alienable rights that are granted to us by God, not by men. You know, in God we trust is everywhere. So we have a foundation of virtue that we have followed other countries and whatnot, especially in the last 4 years. I mean, it has been absolute chaos in terms of trying to keep that. And so what is taking place now is that our current president and those people he has involved are moving us back to the foundation of where we were. How that's going to
A bit of a painful experience, but
sure.
necessary.
For all of us, just even watching it.
Yeah.
But the other side of that is it's necessary. There must be a correction. But we didn't have that when you and I were coming up in the library system.
I know.
So,
yeah, the library was always a good sanctuary for me. I loved it.
But you know what?
When I was a kid,
our libraries they're really well run, and they're nice environments, and it's really not about so much getting rid of stuff. People, you get accused of book burning. There's no intention of doing book burning, getting rid of it.
Right.
Let's put it into age-appropriate areas.
Makes sense.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's all it's about. So,
Okay. So how are the libraries funded here in Montgomery?
I'm sorry?
County? How are they funded here?
they're funded through us.
Really?
They get private
So-
monies, but through the county, and we have a county
Okay.
budget that does the libraries.
Yeah, I was always curious, because they charge, if you're late with a book or something like that. I was like, there's no way they could be paying for everything
Oh, no.
on late fees.
No. But
So-
they use those for various incidentals, but it's not by
Yeah.
late fees. It's actually funded.
Wow.
The county has a commitment to the public being able to go in and learn
Mm-hmm.
and to be able to read. And plus, we do things. We have Saturday activities
Mm-hmm.
for people to come in, and we'll get. Like Kurt Cameron was scheduled to come in and
Mm-hmm.
be a part of our Saturday efforts a couple years ago during the summertime for the kids when they're off
Right.
of school.
Yeah.
And so it is a good system. I think it's necessary. We have, including hard actual books and electronics, in these libraries, we have 1.5 million choices
Yeah.
that people can choose from to read or study or do research or whatever. So it's a good system.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Shift gears a little bit again. I want to
Okay.
talk about just a little about emergency management and
Yes.
how you guys take care of what's going on. Like we could talk about Beryl if you want to.
Sure.
Beryl was bad for us. We had about $48,000 worth of damage here, not in the studio, but at our home.
Yeah.
And it was a mess. I mean, it was just a freaking mess. So what do you guys do to help us recover from things like that? And what could we look for as citizens to Montgomery County to help?
Well, first of all, what we did was we were prepared.
And that's really important.
Let me tell you, what people don't realize is that we had my chief of staff, who's also my director of Homeland Security Emergency Management, watched 12 to 14 models, and he picked out the model that was going to hit us, and we stayed on that.
Okay.
It was amazing. And we were exactly right. And all we had to do was watch the one that wasn't changing. And sure enough, it came right up through the county. And but I just happened to have our director of emergency management with us here today.
Okay, great.
And we'll
Yeah.
do a little tag team here on actually what happened.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you, we were ready. And I will say this, for a county government to ever say, that is on the coast of all places,
Right.
to say this was unexpected, something needs to change in that county.
Yeah.
We are always preparing. Hank, Jason Millsaps has our people. We have planners. They plan scenarios. But enough of me. Jason's right here with me. Jason, talk to us.
Good morning, Hank.
Good morning. How's it going?
Good.
So,
So yeah, as the judge was saying, part of the process here is just being prepared. Every year before hurricane season, we do a countywide preparedness drill where we activate the EOC. We bring in our partners from across the county government, across other agencies that will respond in the state, the power system, so Entergy, Centerpoint, all these guys participate in a tabletop exercise to kind of fill out any issues with our plans and learn from any mistakes that we can make in a non-real world scenario. So when the real world scenario happens, we're good to go. The county has spent enormous amount of time and resources to make sure that the office is prepared. We have a warehouse with supplies in it. We call it the Costco for emergency management.
I've seen it. It's actually really huge.
It's
That thing is-
unbelievable.
yeah, it's crazy.
We're blessed to have it. It's we're one of the few jurisdictions at a county level that has something like this at our disposal. It essentially allows us to operate during a time of crisis for a disaster, natural or man-made, for about 2 weeks before we have to really rely on the state or FEMA to come in and assist us. And if you just go back in time and look at some of these major hurricanes that hit coastal communities and how everything's at a standstill until FEMA gets there 3, 4, 5 days later, that's not the case here. We can operate during that gap time and really make sure the citizens have food access, water access, a number of other things. We have a stockpile of tarps. And one of the most important things is stopping the damage to the home. So if the roof
Sure.
is ripped off and we have another rainstorm right behind it, it does more damage. And homeowners then are fighting with their insurance to cover what was what was hurricane related and what was post hurricane related, and it's two different claims, two different deductibles. So we could pass out tarps if during a flood event we were able to pass out muck out kits to homeowners, and ensure that they can get out, get in the home immediately and start ripping out all of the flooded damaged property and getting it out of the home so it won't cause further damage. We keep about 1,800 of those kits in the warehouse at any time. Last year in 2024 we had a flood in January and we had a flood in May, and we cycled through our warehouse 3 times last year. The flood in January, the flood in May, and then in Hurricane Beryl. And all 3 times we were stocked and ready to go within a week of the other incident. Beryl even more especially, we're still in hurricane season, so the team worked around the clock to not only address the current situation, but also restock us. And we use various resources from the state and federal partners to ensure that that restock is not at taxpayer expense here at the local level. So we're ready to go.
Okay.
The next one. If you go to the warehouse right now, we are prepared.
Okay.
Commissioner's Court. Every time we have an incident, we learn some things. One was, it's great to have a warehouse, but if we can't move the stuff around efficiently, it's not as helpful. So the Commissioner's Court allowed me to purchase some dry van, 53-foot box truck vans to pull behind our tractors, so semi trucks essentially. We already had the trucks, we just needed the trailers. Our conservative nature is they give me $60,000 to do that. A brand new one's about $70,000.
Yeah.
I was able to buy 3 with the $60,000.
That's great.
Used trailers, just a little bit of upkeep in them. We had them sandblasted, repainted, re-graphic. They look brand new, but they're 20 years old. And so we were able to stretch those dollars to do that. Same thing with keeping refrigerated connexes. We have freezer connexes now because we have a plethora of ice that was given to us in Hurricane Beryl and we have nowhere to store it. So our partnership with the Montgomery County Food Bank allows us to store some ice, but not in large enough numbers that we can really help the citizens in an immediate need.
Right.
But first thing people need during that, when power's out, is ice.
Right.
So we have 68 pallets of ice now on hand that we can immediately distribute while I'm ordering additional ice supplies from our state and federal partners. We don't have to wait those 3 days for it to get here. We can really start distributing it as soon as the wind stops to really help folks out. So
tell us about, can we, Hank, if I can tell us about some of the equipment that you have, Jason, that you have put in place, our ambus and, just all the various stuff that we have, airboats, the whole deal.
Yeah, so over the years, so, the county had received some funds from COVID, the American Rescue Plan Act and CARES Act. And one of the things that those funds could be used for is for disaster preparedness, whether it be COVID preparedness or future disaster preparedness. So we utilize a large chunk of those funds to prepare for future disasters. Being a vulnerable county from repetitive flooding issues, tornadoes, as we've now seen the last couple years, windstorms, and now hurricanes, we've got to be prepared. So instead of money going towards, opening up COVID shelters and all the various things that other entities used for their COVID money, we invested that money in future disaster planning. As a result of that, as the judge mentioned, we purchased an apparatus. It's called our Special Operations Vehicle. Many people have seen it out and about. It is essentially an ambulance that holds 27 patients. So it's a mass casualty triage ambulance.
Oh, it's awesome.
I got to see that thing.
It's an insurance policy, essentially. If we ever had a mass casualty incident, and they don't necessarily have to be an active shooter. They could be a hazardous material release, a gas release at a school where you have sick kids. And in Hurricane Beryl, we used it to evacuate oxygen-dependent patients from Kingwood Hospital that were clogging up the hospital, that just needed to go somewhere where there was power so they can plug in their oxygen generators and survive for the next few days. So we took the ambulance to the hospital. We loaded 15 patients up on it, took them to the county shelter in Splendora, and managed to clean up some of the hospital's ER space for sick folks, and not necessarily just folks that need power for their O2 machines. And so that's one apparatus.
Really cool.
We purchased 2 mobile operations centers. One of them is assigned in Precinct 1 to North County Fire Department. They will run one of those units for the countywide fire response for mobile command. That's designed to also rehabilitate firemen when they're in a serious fire. They have to cool off and hydrate and get out of the elements or warm up, depending on what time of year it is. And that unit also has a cascade system on it, which allows the fire department to refill their O2 bottles on site so they can continue to fight fire and not be oxygen depleted. And so then the second one is at OEM, is the county-wide mobile operations center. That will allow us to take the emergency operations center, which is in Conroe, on the road. We've also developed an incident management team, and the county's been deployed outside of the county on this incident management team a number of times. We had members of our team go to Florida after Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton. We had employees go up to Amarillo last year for the big wildfire up in Amarillo. So Montgomery County's known for being really good at emergency management, and because of that, people request us. About 4 weeks ago, St. Center County had a hazardous materials spill after a motor vehicle accident, and Montgomery County agencies were first on scene. We had our fire departments respond. Emergency management was requested out there, so we responded as well. It turned into an 18-hour day for our crew, over 100 personnel out there. By and large, 70% of it was from Montgomery County.
That's awesome.
So we've got that reputation of being well prepared, having the resources, the training, the knowledge, and the equipment to respond to those types of things. So
cool. And let me add also that one thing that you didn't mention was y'all have a really good public education component along with this, because I've seen it myself. We're going to be doing the 4th annual Hurricane Preparedness Forum in a couple of months, and I know you guys are going to be involved in that. And in the past, I've sat with my jaw open going, I didn't know that. You know, and I'm the guy putting the thing together. So, I mean, y'all have a really good public education component, and I think that's really, really important. So it's getting them educated to where they know these things exist and can be used. So that's amazing.
one of the things that the county has really led on, it started in about 2017, prior to the judge and I arriving to the county. They developed the special threat plan for Montgomery County. Really, how is the county going to respond should we have an active shooter?
Right.
That plan has evolved over the years, and the county has invested in ensuring that all of our officers, firemen and EMTs across the county, are trained on how to respond to active shooters. So we opened a school to help us get caught up on that training. And New Caney, we took over an old school here in New Caney and started training ourselves. And it didn't take long for other regional partners to find out what we were doing, and they started participating. And then it didn't take long until we were getting to a point where it was going to be either wildly expensive to continue this, or we needed to go to the state and see if the state would help fund this endeavor. So the Commissioner's Court authorized me to go to Austin. I went to Austin, secured some funding. We now own this campus. We're no longer renting.
Awesome.
And it is a statewide training tool for all law enforcement, first responder types across the state.
I got to go to that too.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah. It's right there in New Caney. It's an awesome campus. It's going to start construction here shortly on getting it rehabilitated and modernized.
Yeah.
But we've trained over 6,500 first responders in the last 3 years in that facility. Really, the bulk of it in the last year and a half. And every day there's training going on there across the state. And then as a result of that, we're very well prepared between the special operations vehicle to respond to mass casualty. All of our officers, all of our firemen, all of our paramedics that report to these scenes are highly trained in what they do to stop the killing and stop the dying. And unfortunately, we saw that this weekend. We had a shooting incident in a pub in the Woodlands. And the overwhelming response from law enforcement, the sheriff's office, and other agencies, and then the hospital district and the Woodlands Fire Department immediately stopped the killing, stopped the dying, triaging and getting folks out. It was wonderful to see that good training's paying off.
Sure.
And the new sheriff, as the judge likes to call it, we have a new sheriff in town.
That's right.
And his team.
Shout out to Wesley Doolittle there.
Absolutely. His team were, there's already officers in that area that responded on foot immediately, but we were doing a task force this weekend, and so we had additional personnel out, and they all immediately surged resources to the area to assist, and really got a handle on things. So again, Montgomery County led by example with the special threat plan. Now it's a requirement in all cities and counties in the state, legislatively mandated to have that plan. We were the first to do it. It's mandated now that they take this training So they have to take, law enforcement has to take this training every 2 years.
Wow.
We mandated it 7 years ago. The state caught up and said it's now a requirement after Uvalde. And so we're one of those training providers in the state right here in Montgomery County. And the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office every day is providing dedicated active shooter training to law enforcement from across the state.
Can't beat that with a stick. I'm telling you right now.
You know,
And you know, I always say, because a lot of people talk to me about government, and they say, I think government just doesn't work. It does. You just got to look for where it's working and let the people who know how to do things do them.
turn them loose.
Yeah, turn them loose. Let them impress you, and they will.
Hank, I think you have to have government officials that really are doing this because they really do care about the people,
Sure.
and that it's not just a job. You know, and Jason and I, we've talked about this a lot. And the way I look at this is I'm not doing it for the money, I'm not doing it for the power, and I'm not doing it for another term.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, people want to hold you up. If you don't do this, we won't give you this money. Or
Right.
You won't
I
do
get
this.
it.
You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? They hold you
Politics.
hostage.
Yeah.
And we have a mindset in the county judge's office that we're not going to be held hostage.
Mm-hmm.
Always the question comes, what is the best thing for the people?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes there's a little bit of conflict among where a commissioner, he may just take total ownership of an area. And I have to somehow remind people periodically, you know, each one of you guys has got these voters. I have all of the people. I represent the entire county. So
Right.
your constituent or my constituent as well. So let's ask ourselves, what is the best thing for the county? When it comes to running again, what I always ask the question is, do I have the favor of the people? Do I believe God wants me to do it? Am I making an impact? And if I'm not doing those things, then hey, I just need to go to the house. But the fact of the matter is, and another thing that I have determined, a long time ago, just in business and good business models, is to find good people to work for you and turn them loose.
There you go.
I have this with Jason Millsaps. I have it with our administrative assistants, with my deputy chief of staff, Jason Smith, government relations person, Gene. And you just turn them loose. And you don't have to micromanage them or tell them what to do. These people are motivated
Right.
to serve the community. It's amazing. If anything, at times I got to kind of call balls and strikes and kind of rein them in
Sure.
a little bit. But they do such a good job. And it makes my life a whole lot easier. And then I can be at least a mouthpiece for the community and for the county as a whole as it relates to the state of Texas. And that's worked very well for us.
Fantastic. Well, Judge, I think you do a good job. I really do.
Well, I appreciate
I've
that. Thank you.
been watching and learning what I can. And I think that what people need to know is that you do have a view of the entire county and not just a focal point
Right.
on one precinct or another.
Right.
So, and I've seen that in things that have gone on in Commissioner's Court. And I think it's important to have somebody in that particular position.
Well, you know, it's not, again, we're not, and I think the commissioners have this mindset too, is that we're in it because we love people.
Sure.
And if you don't, some of the stuff you got to put up with, oh my goodness. But the
Yeah.
other side of that is soft heart, tough hide.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you got to have. You just got to be tough,
Gotta be
take it in the chin,
thick-skinned.
and try and move on.
Yeah.
And accept things for what they are and just keep doing the right thing. You know, Hank, there's a scripture. It's in 1 Peter 2:15. It says, "For this is the will of God, that by doing good you should put to silence the ignorance of foolish men." We show up to work and we do good.
Right.
And you don't have to take credit for it. You don't have to raise your hand and say, look at me or anything. You just show up and do good and people are watching.
Mm-hmm.
And that outruns all that other stuff, you know. So I think it's very exciting. And Montgomery County is a great place to live. It's a great place to work. It's a great place to, we have over 450 places of worship in Montgomery County.
I know. It's
It's remarkable.
Yeah,
And,
I can't wave the flag more than anybody else. That's
right.
for sure.
So it's
yeah.
it's a great place to raise a family and
Absolutely.
and have a home. So
Yeah.
we love it.
Well, Judge, I appreciate you coming on the show and giving me some time to sit down with you
Always.
and have this conversation. I hope that our listeners got something out of it. I know that I learned again from Jason. Every time he opens his mouth, it's like, man, you ought to just hang out here.
I'm blessed to have a.
Tour with you.
That'd be great. I'd love to.
Here's what I tell people: I say I'm blessed to have a couple of guys working for me Jason and Jason. Jason 1, Jason 2,
Yep.
Jason M, Jason S, JS, JM. We've heard
There
over
you
different
go.
things. Both these guys have the ability to see it, to hear it, and to remember it.
And not only are you
That's a
lucky for
gift.
having those, but Montgomery County's lucky for having those guys in place too.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I do.
It's all
appreciate
good.
it.
We're a team.
Well, if there's anything that I can do in the future moving forward, let me know. If you ever want to get any news out to the public, this is a good place for you to do it. And
Awesome.
all you got to do is give me a call. So,
Hank, thank you very much. It's really a pleasure to be
No
here
problem.
again. It's
No
great to be
problem.
back.
Jason and Mark, I really appreciate both of you coming.
You betcha.
All right, guys. Well, there you have it. Mark Keough is going to be running again, and that's good news, I think, for Montgomery County. I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of good stuff come out. Like I said, I'm going to leave some links in the description on Commissioner's Court and now some other things that are related with what Jason does. And let's get educated, folks. I mean, educated voters can't be beat. And Montgomery County is definitely out there. We're doing well. We just need to keep moving down that same path. I'm Hank Vatt. This is Hank's Think Tank, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.